And where were you born?
In Armstrong County, down on the, about 4 miles east of the J.A. Ranch headquarters is where I was born. And my name was Bagwell then.
Tell me about how your family came to Armstrong County.
Well, they were living in Cook County. Originally they were in Georgia and then came to Cook County. And they decided that land was too high there for the boys to do anything. And Papa had heard about the land in this country being cheaper, and also they decided to come up here and see about getting no more land than they could get there, and cheaper. So you could take up land then from the state.
So when did they come here?
1890.
And they came, and what was the area called here?
Well, it was Mulberry Flats where we lived. Well, my father was a doctor, and he fitted in, I think, nicely with the primitive demands for doctors. There were plenty of, he's delivered dozens of babies. And there were young people, you see, who were settling there, most of them, and he didn't have any old patients, and good part of his work was delivering babies. And just doctoring in general, and then when he wasn't doing any doctoring, farming and raising cattle.
Did any of your family work for the J.A.?
Oh, one of my brothers at one time broke broncs for the J.A. Ranch, and they did little work, but not as a permanent employee, no. That one was all.
What price did your father pay for his land?
Well, I think $1 an acre, and then it went up, I think, till $2. And I do know this, you had 40 years to pay it out and pay the interest on it. And I think he got some land for it, and eventually he got 4 sections land. And I think he paid $2 for $1 for some of it. Oh, it was a half dugout. Now, I didn't live there. I came on a few years later, and we had built a house by that time.
So you were born there?
Oh, yes.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I had a sister and 5 brothers.
And were they all born there?
Were they what?
Were they all born down there?
Well, I said I had 5 brothers, and I really had a brother and a sister that died of diphtheria down there. But the rest of them worked and helped with the farming, helped with the cattle, and helped with their job on the ranch when they could get one, or with some other ranchman.
What was the closest town?
Oh, I guess Clarendon.
And how did you get there?
In a buggy or in a wagon. And we didn't follow the road that they follow now. We went on a road that was north of the, have you ever been over that road? There's a road there now. That if you were to go to Clarendon now, you'd have to follow this newer road. But we went on one that was north of that.
How long did it take?
Oh, I'd say an hour and a half. Now, I never had followed that before. But I know we went often enough that the road became familiar. And if there's a hill, you know, that got a little change made in it or something, we'd notice that. And when we crossed Mulberry, a lot of times it was dry, but occasionally it wasn't. And I remember my father rolling up his pants and getting out and walking across that 2 or 3 times to settle the quicksand so we could go on across.
Tell me about the Indian scare.
Well, now that's before my day, but I've heard enough about it that the manager of the ranch at that time was Mr. Farrington, and he invited the nesters to bring their families in, and they were going to use the basement part of the mess hall there for a refuge. And my uncle, I don't know where my father was, he was away at home, and my uncle came along and took Mom and the kids and his family, and they went to the ranch. I remember my sister saying that there was a little dog, and my uncle said, now if that dog doesn't hush barking, I'm going to have to shoot it. And sister said she wasn't a bit afraid of Indians, but she didn't want that dog killed. Showing that kids then were the same as they are now. And they went on, and my oldest brother was moved out on some of the hills west of the ranch to look for Indians, if any came, you know. And I've heard him say a good many times, you'd have a time to get me out now, but then he thought it was great to be out there. He was 14 years old. And 2 or 3 of the kids were with Mama down in the basement at the ranch. And when they heard, they stayed, I guess, a day and a night there. And one of my brothers said they were burning candles, and he thought just candy. And he thought that's an awful waste of candy to burn it. And when they heard that it was a false alarm, they just all got in their wagon and went back home, picked up there where they left off.
People that lived on Mulberry Flats were called nesters, right?
Well, most of them were. Nestor just wasn't a farmer. Wasn't a ranchman. He had a farm.
And were there any problems with the big ranchers, like the
We had no difficulties with the ranchmen. We got along with them fine. And there never was a finer man than Dick Walsh, who was Mr. Farrington didn't stay there long, and I don't remember whether Mr. Walsh came after that or whether there was an interval in there. But Mr. Walsh he's been to our house any number of times and was a splendid gentleman. And we had no trouble with ranchmen. No. And we respected my father respected their rights, and they respected ours.
What was your family life like? What did you do for fun and church and
Oh,
school?
goodness. We had church once in a while. We had a school, you see, and the schoolhouse served as a church house. And we had when we could get a preacher to come, didn't make any difference whether he was a Methodist or Baptist or something else. Everybody went to church. And it was a meeting place and a social event as well as church. And occasionally we had dinner on the ground from church, and it was literally a dinner on the ground. We put down a tarp, put a tablecloth on top of that, and put your food out on that. But it's all grass all over that country, and I guess that's the reason we didn't have so much dust. And anyway, we ate it and lived over it.